Next, we have Athena. She is the goddess of inner strength, wisdom, and strategy. She's the part of us that helps us make choices with clarity and purpose, even in complex situations. Hello and welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jada. In this series, we're diving into the different archetypes of Greek mythology to help us understand ourselves better. So if you haven't watched the introduction video, I'm going to link it up above and down below so you can have a look at it. It basically gives you a better understanding on what this series is about. I'm also going to link the playlist down below of this series so you can watch the other gods as well. One of the most interesting part of her myth is definitely her birth. So basically, Zeus got involved with another woman and got her pregnant, and he eventually received a prophecy that said that he would die or be overthrown by that child. So in order to prevent that, Zeus swallowed up the woman that he had impregnated. So he just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna swallow her up so I won't have to deal with that. However, despite having swallowed her up, the pregnancy continued to grow inside of him. He wasn't aware of that. But eventually he was complaining about an incredible headache that he couldn't get rid of and it just wouldn't pass. So he asked the blacksmith Hephaestus to split open his head to basically release the tension. And out of that wound came Athena, full grown, full armored and ready for battle. She didn't have any hard feeling towards her father, and as a matter of fact, Zeus was enamored with her from the very first moment, so she literally became daddy's girl. She's often depicted as a wise warrior, associated with wisdom, craftsmanship, and a fair judgment. Unlike her brother Ares, who was all about brute force and the chaos of battle, Athena was much more level-headed. She was all about strategic thinking and logic, and it's basically represented by the fact that she was born out of Zeus' head. Another interesting part about her myth is that she was always on the winning side. So she was the one who would always help out whenever a hero or a god needed help. Her ability to think very strategically and come up with a plan with a lot of foresight was the reason that most heroes were able to succeed. And this is shown in her myths over and over again. She helped Heracles in his quest. He helped Odysseus getting back home. She was the reason that they won the Trojan War. But even for the conquest on who would be the new patron of the city Athene, between Ares and Athena, Athena was able to emerge out of it victorious, and this is why the city Athena was even actually named after her. So Athena is the part inside of us that encourages us to make decisions from a logical perspective, from a strategic point of view instead of an emotional one. And she gives also us the courage to act on those decisions. She also helps us stay calm and collected when under pressure. So it's all about staying open to new perspectives and adjusting the strategy where needed. So balanced Athena basically shows up in the ability to think strategically, but also tap in our intuition, but also to remain calm and when making such a decision to come from a perspective that serves the whole and not from a selfish perspective point of view. An overemphasized Athena can show up as someone who overthinks anything, who has a hard time to tap into her heart and listen to her inner wisdom. If that is the case, it's all about getting in touch with our inner selves again. Thinking from the perspective of, okay, it makes sense, but does it also feel right? It's about combining those two parts of the self, of the mind and the heart, and make decision from that point, from those combined forces basically. A suppressed Athena on the other side can show up as the inability to make decisions, being very indecisive, or on the other hand, making decisions without even thinking them through. In both cases, the lack of ability to make a decision, but also making decisions without thinking, usually lead to consequences that we could have avoided, or negative consequences, if we just had thought things through instead of just blindly deciding on something. Because if we would have just taken that moment to think things through, we could have realized that this might be a negative consequence, or it would even be a negative consequences, and therefore we would have been able to avoid it. So regardless if you're having a hard time on making decisions or you're making decisions without thinking, it's all about taking a step back. It's If you know that you're prone to not making decisions, it's about writing those decisions down and just deciding on something. And here again, it's really helpful to start small. If, for example, you're having a hard time on deciding on what to have to dinner, every time you're going out, you're like, I don't know what I want to eat. Just start tapping into both your heart and your mind. Like, okay, what do you know that feels right to you? What do you read on the menu that feels right? And then think about it logically. Well, do I even like spicy foods? Usually I don't, so I can easily categorize those out. I'm not going to be eating those. On the other hand, if you usually decide blindly and it doesn't go well for you, it's about just taking that moment of just holding back with the decision for a moment and thinking about it. Is there something in that decision that I need to be aware of? Are possible consequences that I can actually already foresee if I just take the moment to look at the decision that I am making? So Athena is a great archetype to reflect on how we make decisions. Do we do it more from an intuitive point of view, or do we do it more from a logical point of view? And is one overemphasized over the other, and how can we harmonize those two? Also with the intention on making decisions that is beneficial for everyone involved. So let me know how you feel about Athena. I would love to know. Otherwise, this is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.